In 1945, Japan renounced war. That was after the Second World War. Japan became a pacifist state. 75 years later, it is shifting away from pacifism. Japan is adopting what looks like a strike-first policy. What does that mean? It means that Japan's Coast Guard can fire missiles if a foreign vessel intrudes into the Senkaku Islands. That's what Tokyo has announced. What are the Senkaku Islands? It's a disputed turf between Japan and China in the East China Sea. Now, Japan will strike first to protect this turf. And here's something that you should know. Pacifism is a part of the Japanese constitution, and the government has not really changed the constitution here. It has just found a way around it. Japan has changed the way one law is interpreted, and the result is this. The Japanese Coast Guard can strike first. Technically, Japan also does not have an army, but it maintains a self-defense force that has vowed never to use force first. It's one of the most powerful forces in the world, and now it has signaled an intent to abandon pacifism. Why now? Because the neighborhood is becoming unsafe thanks to one neighbor. China is aggressively staking claims in the Indo-Pacific. Last year, Chinese Coast Guard vessels entered Japanese waters twice a month. Then China enacted a new law. It allows the Chinese Coast Guard to use weapons against foreign ships. So Japan's measure is essentially a tit for tat. Here's why it was necessary. China is deploying vessels with lethal firepower around Japan. Hundreds of Chinese vessels entered the waters around the Senkaku Islands last year. Reports say Chinese vessels were spotted there for a record 333 days. For 111 days, these Chinese vessels maintained a continuous presence. So Japan has now told its Coast Guard it is free to shoot at foreign vessels. It is also getting more firepower. This year, the Japanese military budget is expected to be around $51 billion. It has grown for 9 years straight. In 2020, the Japanese military performed 25 missions in defense of American ships or planes. This shows the growing defense integration between the US and Japan, and these missions were in addition to the Malabar exercise hosted by India in November 2020. Here, Japan participated alongside the United States and Australia. These four countries make up what is called the Quad Alliance. They're steadily expanding their partnership. The Japanese Prime Minister spoke with his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison yesterday. They discussed Chinese military aggression, as well as the need for an open and free Indo-Pacific. Reports say Japan and Australia are now working on a mutual defense treaty. This week, France, Australia and India held a trilateral of their own. Senior officials attended the meeting, and they're said to have discussed ways to expand their cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. So this is what's happening. Doors are being opened for more allies to work with the Quad. Earlier this week, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to his counterpart in Bangladesh, A.K. Abdul Momen. According to a statement from Washington, Blinken and Momen would like a closer collaboration to quote-unquote address challenges in South Asia and the greater Indo-Pacific region. China understands the language of strength. How India responded to the Chinese border aggression is proof of that. Japan is deploying the same playbook. It wants to take on the Chinese threat from a position of strength with military power. And Tokyo can bank on its Quad allies as partners for support on this front. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.